Welcome to A Friday Reads, where we talk about what I've read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next, stuff that I've gotten from the library and bookstore. The stack is actually way more manageable than it looks in the thumbnail, but I am going to talk about all the things that were in the thumbnail, so it's just what happens when it's Tome Topple. But let's first talk about things that I have finished. I did finish on Friday, Vita Nostra, and so it's now been about 5 days since I've finished it when I'm filming this, and I still, I really don't know what I think. I don't hate the ending, and I think the book knows what it is and does what it wants to do very well, but I don't have a lot of cohesive thoughts, and I keep talking to friends who have read this. Like, I've been talking to Judith from Dead Good Book Reviews, who's reading it right now, talked to Jess Owens, I've talked to my friend Brittany, and I still am just it was just vibes. It was really good vibes, really comfortably confusing vibes. I never expected concrete answers, but I got enough, and it's short enough, I think, for what it does. It's only 400 pages, which isn't the shortest book, but it's at least not 600 pages of confusion with no satisfying ending. Or I recently watched Bethany's House of Leaves spoiler vlog, and I'm like, that's a little too confusing for the ending she got from it. So I'll link that vlog down below if you've ever been confused about House of Leaves, because I will never be reading that book on this channel. I cannot help you figure out if that's the book for you here. So this one, though, if you have read Middle Game or The Library at Mount Char, I think there's a chance this will also work for you, although the writing style is very different, and those other two books have very different writing styles, but they all kind of have a similar theme of how the universe works and having people who can bend the rules of reality with specific ways. In Library of Mount Char, the premise has these children learning books and having specialties. And this felt like a book that showed me how those children learn those specialties, although obviously this took place, I think, in the Ukraine or Russia, and the Library of Mount Char, I think, took place somewhere in the United States. So very different, but it had those vibes. So I'm glad I read it. It was perfect for this time of year. It was honestly, as a grad student, really horrifying how much I could relate to this character who was going through some weird stuff, but it's still very much you have to be the A student. You have to work so hard. And this just takes it to another level. So I don't know if any of those thoughts are helpful. Maybe by the time I do a wrap-up, I'll have better thoughts. And I just finished, 15 minutes ago, the 5th book in the Lady Trent series. I really love this series, and I'm really glad there's still a companion novel, which I know doesn't have Lady Trent's voice. And I think I saw, while I was searching through my library Libby app today, because I was just looking for the audiobook for that companion novel, that there are the letters of Lady Trent, or something like the Falchester letters or something, which is where she lived in this world. Lived is in quotes, because whenever I get to be with Lady Trent, she's never there for more than a minute. And this, if you've liked the rest of the series, the 5th book is very much just more of the normal, kind of predictable, formulaic plot structure of the others, with more cool discoveries, moments that make your heart feel good. I really enjoyed it. I have to be very vague about what it's about. I guess I could say the setting of this one seems to be the equivalent of the Himalaya Mountains, so that was interesting. I really enjoyed this entire series. I'm thinking I'll probably make a series, should you read, cohesive review once I have finished the companion novella or novel. I think it's actually a novel because it's 12 hours of an audiobook, so that sounds more like a novel length book. And maybe if I read those letters, so I can have a more comprehensive, should you read this companion novel if you liked the 5 books? How important are these letters to fans of XYZ? That sort of thing. So I'm going to do that, but that was great. Now I have to figure out an audiobook to read. I don't know. The Jade City audiobook has not come in yet, so my plans for Tome Topple have been foiled once again. But it's okay. But what I am currently in the middle of, I am almost done with part 2 of House of Change. This book is so long. Believe it or not, this bookmark is at chapter 11. Chapter 11. I'm having a good time. I'm immersion reading this, and I usually do it on my phone on my commute so I can highlight things so I can go back, because tomorrow I'll finish chapter 11, which finishes part 2, and I have to go through all my notes and see what puzzle pieces I've missed, because I'm trying this thing where as I'm reading it, I go with the flow and try to just keep the narrative cohesiveness, the characters, not try to pick apart every puzzle piece. And then I highlight things I find interesting, and then after each part come together and think of my theories and what I missed maybe. That's my attempt to not pull myself from the story every page, especially now that everyone has 2 names. I know I mentioned this previously, but There's so many. I can barely keep track of people's names. Like, I will say I have liked most of the world building choices that have been made. The names one is the most annoying as a reader, I'm just going to say. And I make fun of authors for their naming conventions all the time. This is all authors, even authors that I like. It's just, you have a choice. Why are you doing this to me? I still need to read the book. Another one that I am almost done with, and this actually I've been immersion reading sometimes and sometimes just physically reading, and that is City of Lies. I am about this far. I have 30% left according to the audiobook, and I've been making my spoiler vlog, and a whole lot of it is I'm really interested in some things, and I really like these characters that are not our point of view characters, but I'm not really connected or care about the point of view characters, and I honestly think this would have been like a DNF for me, not because I hate it, but just because I know it's going to be like a 3.5 star read if I wasn't doing a spoiler vlog for my patrons. But it's honestly not that much work, and it's not unenjoyable. It's just, this is not going to be a favorite fantasy book for me. Like, that's just not what's going to happen because I lack the character connection. I like the world. I think its thematic conversations are a little on the nose. Like, not a little, it's on the nose. It is like, listen to me discuss inequality right now and what happens when you leave people behind. Like, it's a little bit preachy, and I don't even disagree with the preachiness. Like, I agree with the themes, but subtlety is not there. And maybe part of that is that I'm not distracted by loving these characters. Like, I don't even dislike them, and I think they represent important things. Joven, he's neurodivergent and he has anxiety, and watching him cope with that while trying to do this important job is really cool. His sister is immunocompromised and she's always having to deal with that stigma and has like chronic fatigue and joint pain and still doing amazing things. Like, I should really like them, but they're not as vibrant. And then meanwhile, another main character, I think his name is Tane, he's like so cool and I wish we had his perspective. And we don't. And then we have a different character, I can't remember how to say her name, who I also really like, that gets introduced about halfway through. And so I kind of just wish I had any perspective but the ones I was given, just because to me they aren't that interesting, especially with like what is happening to them. It is a very stressful book. Like, there's a lot happening. This book picks up at a very stressful moment and then it goes and it's a very stressful thing. Like, this is a siege book. You spend a lot of time in a siege, and I think because I don't care about the characters, I don't care about the siege. And I think the thematic stuff being a little on the nose is also, like, not helping. So I don't know. Someone let me know if Hollow Crown, the sequel, has different characters, because I don't think I'll read it if it has the same characters. I'm so sorry, Judith. I know that you really love this book. And I purely think it's not because it's poorly written. This is not a poorly written work. This is just, I am not connecting to these characters. Because that's honestly, like I said in last week's video, it has a lot of the elements that I really love, even thematically, world building, in The Mask of Mirrors. But the biggest difference is in The Mask of Mirrors, I love every character that I get to see, and that's just not the case in this book, which is a bummer. But hopefully I'm finishing that today or tomorrow, so by the time you're seeing this video, maybe I'll be done. Who knows? A book I have picked up that I'm loving, and I'm so glad I'm loving because I own the entire trilogy. Ninth Reign. Guys, okay. So I'm this far through. Tome Topple started on Monday, and during their evening sprints on Twitter, I spent the evening reading like 130 pages of this book. I do not read 130 pages of anything in one sitting unless it's a romance or something, and it's like 2 a.m. and there's stuff happening. Like, that's the only time I've ever done that. Okay, so this book has so many of my buzzwords. So, having said that, I just finished Lady Trent, and we end Lady Trent, her telling her not last, but one of the events in her life when she was 40. There's a 40-year-old character in here. Her name is Vintage, and Lady Trent and her are spiritual sisters or something. They have like very similar mentalities and go-get-em attitudes. They want to, pursue knowledge for the sake of knowledge and to uncover mysteries, and they're so sassy and they go against social norms. I love them both. So Vintage is the main character in here, and I love her. There's also just fantastic world building. This is unlike any fantasy world I have read before, and I know a lot of people talk about that, can confirm. It has the type of antagonistic, ominous presence that I enjoy in fantasy, where it's not like, this is a bad guy, we have to get ready to defeat the bad guy, or the Dark Lord, or whatever. That's my least favorite fantasy thing. And even some of my favorite fantasy authors use that, but it's not my favorite. This is very much like, why is the environment acting differently? This isn't good, and how we used to handle this isn't an option anymore. What are we gonna do? And there's implications that there used to be these battles between this planet and like another species maybe from outer space, and there's like the remnants of that on the ground, and it makes these really weird like things happen. It's really cool. So the world building elements and the like what's going to happen is my like buzzwords intrigue. And I love Vintage. I love Vintage and her companions. She kind of stumbles across a character that we actually meet before Vintage. And he is of a race that is very similar, what I would say if like elves and vampires became like a species. It would be this species. And that's super cool. And then we just met a different character who, I won't talk too much about her, but she got to join in with them. I'm just having a good time, and it's like platonic relationships, like, so Vintage and her sidekick companion are platonic, just like work friends sort of thing, and like, it's so good. The banter is so good for me. So my tastes are being met. I hope that continues. I'm still only that far in, but I'm so intrigued, and I'm just happy because a lot of people in my Discord haven't had as good of a time with it, and I could see that if, like, you don't care about the characters. I mean, that's very similar to what I was just talking about with City of Lies. Like, I can read any paste, anything, if I love the people that I'm experiencing it with, and every perspective I've read, I have enjoyed, and I'm very intrigued by what's going to happen. So I'm hopefully going to be in the camp of all the people who love this series, and it's going to be great. So those are some of them, and then I guess, I should talk about this. So I've been reading this short story anthology, Mythic Dreams. I don't think I'll finish it this month. I don't like to rush anthologies, because then I won't like them. But I've read 82 pages of it. So this anthology is meant to ask these authors to write retellings of myths from all different cultures. And so it has a table of contents with all of them, and it has a bunch of authors that I know. So I have read the first, I believe, 4. That had Shauna Maguire, Anne Leckie, T. Kingfisher, and Rebecca Roanhorse. And I've already read things by Shauna Maguire and Rebecca Roanhorse. And now I want to read, is it Ancillary? I can't pronounce it, but so I'll put the picture here. But between this short story and I heard in our 9 Fox Gambit chat at Space Sirens that my friend Cherry, who read both of them, was like, they reminded her of each other. I'm like, yes, a book that is similar to 9 Fox Gambit that I haven't read, sign me up. And then Kingfisher, again, it just had like this great banter. So that one was a retelling of a trial of Hercules, one of his labors. And he was such like a himbo, and it was fantastic. And he met this bird who like was kind of like an old lady bird, and their banter, 10 out of 10. So if they can write banter that makes me love characters in a short story, I am going to try out some of their longer works. So those are the things I've been reading. I am hoping, like I said, to finish City of Lies next. I want to spend any reading time I have reading this because I'm enjoying it so much. And I do want to finish this in Tome Topple. I should be able to. The audiobook says I have like 9 some hours left, so that should be fine. I just hadn't been actively reading this recently, which is why it's taking me so long. And then the last tome that I would love to get done for Tome Topple is Ursa Major, which is technically 4 pages less than 500, but I'm counting it. So this is the sequel to First Light in the Resonance trilogy. And I actually, while I was needing a change of pace, I read like the first like 30 pages, but I haven't gotten back into it. And I'm just so excited to be back with these characters. And it made me realize I'm reading a lot of rebellion fantasy and sci-fi, but from different angles. So, like, this is kind of rebellion, but we're following the perspectives of the people the rebels are fighting against. Sort of similarly with this, we kind of get both perspectives. We get the rebels and we get the people they're fighting against. And then Ursa Major is our main perspectives are, like, the rebels. So that's kind of interesting to see all these different angles, especially in a time where we're not as pro-Empire, I think, culturally or thematically as we used to be. I don't know how pro-Empire we ever have been, but like especially nowadays, you know, we're pretty anti-colonialism and imperialism and things like that generally. So those are the reads, and then some stuff that I picked up. I don't know when I'm getting to this, but I picked it up because I wanted to have it on hand in case I got in the mood, and this is Infomocracy. This was recommended to me by Jocelyn when I posted my Latinx recommendations video. This is part of a sci-fi trilogy. I think it's social sci-fi where elections are now handled by, what's it called? information, a powerful search engine monopoly. Doesn't sound like anything we have. I have read a book sort of similar to this once called The Circle, which I didn't love that much. It was perfectly fine, really quick read. I just didn't love it that much. So I'm hoping it scratches like that sci-fi itch, but better, and it's a whole trilogy. Also, the About Me says that they're a PhD candidate, which, like, yes. But I'm excited to try this out, and some people in my Discord have read it and have liked it, so that's exciting. And then I picked up the 2 best American sci-fi and fantasy short story collections. So one, I picked up this one. This is the newest one. Because there's a Karen Lord short story in it, and I am that basic. I spent, well, I didn't, it was with a gift card from my bookstore. So I used my gift card to buy this full price, so which is like $17. But it also has stories by Ken Liu, Yoon Ha Lee, Tochi Yanabuchi, like Sarah Pinsker, who I just read that story last month, Kate Elliott. Like, there are so many authors that I like in this collection, and I've been wanting to keep more up to date on short stories. And then this was on sale for like $7, which is the year before. So I might as well read this, which again has Ken Liu, Victor Lavelle, who I just read The Changeling, Tobias Buckell, Rebecca Roanhorse, Elizabeth Bear, Charlie Jane Anders. So like so many authors that I do know and some that I don't. And something is satisfying about how now as I like pick up these collections, I can actually see which authors are primarily like short story or novella authors. And I like am recognizing them because of my time reading New Suns and Sunspot Jungle. So, you know, growth. So I don't know. I really like them and how they look, and maybe if I like them enough, I'll go collect the further back ones, because I think this is a thing that started in 2015, and they have different editors and things like that. I care less about the editors. Like, I know Jemison edited one, but like that just means they like edit it. They don't like write a story in it. But that's the video. I have a lot of stuff, but for once I think I can read all 4 of the tomes for Tome Topple. I think I can do it. If only my Jade City audio would come in, I could actually finish the bingo board and become a sage. But that's not in the cards. But I still feel really good about my goals of reading 4 tomes for Tome Topple. That's still a lot. What are you reading? Are you doing anything fun this weekend? I am seeing Dune tomorrow. It's going to be great. And by tomorrow, I mean Saturday. Like, you're seeing this video. I'm seeing Dune tomorrow. I'm pumped, guys. I got my IMAX seats. I'm ready. It's going to be great. Otherwise, I don't even remember what's happening this weekend. I think tonight, like Friday night, we're going to watch like some not spooky movies, because all of us in my apartment are like, we want to like vibe Halloween, but we're not into horror. So we're going to do that while like the Bruins and Red Sox do whatever they're doing, because apparently it's still baseball. That's still a thing. But I'd love to hear what plans you have. If you want to just leave an emoji, I guess leave like a computer or robot or search engine emoji, because this is the book I picked up when I was searching for an emoji. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.